Spider-Man. This is Mr. Beck.
You're Mysterio.
Cool name.
Stark chose you. We need an Avenger.
Awesome.
Mr. Stark trusted me. I'm not gonna let him down.
Let's go save the world, Spider-Man.
I've got this. I have a plan. First, for this class trip, I want to do something that's not on the itinerary. Second, I'm gonna tell MJ how I feel. I
am Spider-Man.
No, of course I'm not. Three, I kind of want to do something fun.
Don't do any of that.
Why?
Because we're gonna be bachelors in Europe. And Europeans love Americans.
Really?
Spider-Man Far From Home starts July 2nd in IMAX.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. We got some brand new Spider-Man Far From Home footage to break down, and a lot of you asking about Venom crossing over, so I wanted to do a video for that because there have been a lot of rumors and there's a lot of stuff that the people that made Venom, Tom Hardy, and Tom Holland, and the Marvel people behind Spider-Man that have said about it. We're doing that new Spider-Man Far From Home IMAX ticket giveaway too. All you have to do to enter that is be a subscriber and leave a Spider-Man comment on the video. I'll name a new winner at the end of this. We start with new footage of extra abilities we didn't know about that the new Spider-Man suit has, the special Steve Ditko suit that he fabricates on the back of Iron Man's jet here. It's all happening before that big Molten Man boss fight where he goes supersized over the Tower Bridge of London. So you see him climb to the outside of the jet, but then when he lets go, instead of just gliding down, you see a special new parachute shoot out of the back out of his symbol. He had a parachute in the original Iron Man Stark Tech suit, but it looked a little bit different, and if you remember during Spider-Man Homecoming, he actually got tangled in it, so it didn't quite work the way that it was supposed to work. So it sounds like this new version is a slightly fixed version so that he won't get tangled in it when he jumps down into this maelstrom. But it shoots out of his back the same way that the last symbol did. This time it's white though. I think it just pops a little bit more on screen. And you also notice the white outline. You remember the black outline from the Stark Tech suit? There's a white outline on his suit here that we don't see when he's standing stationary on the ground. So maybe this just lights up or it has something to do with the operation of the suit. But this might be behind all those Spider UK rumors that people have been talking about. The Earth that Mysterio claims to come from in the multiverse is Spider UK's Earth, and then separately there was some merchandise that looked a little bit like a version of Spider UK's suit, so it just created a lot of confusion. This might be what's behind all those rumors, so it might just be part of the functionality of the Steve Ditko Stark Tech suit. So because the parachute is white, it might just glow white in that outline of his suit when it's deployed. We'll get into multiverse stuff when I talk about Venom in a second, but then there's just more footage of his friends geeking out on Mysterio thinking he's super badass. Then there's more footage of him at school before the trip giving Ned Leeds his plan for what he's going to try and do with Michelle. You also see all these Iron Man drawings on the board behind him here too, so it sounds like the entire city is going to be a memorial to Iron Man, probably all over the world too. Then Ned Leeds giving Spider-Man probably the worst possible advice that you could give someone, as you would expect his high school friend to give him. No, I got all the answers, you need to be super smooth. The funny thing about Ned Leeds giving him all that misinformation about how much tail they're going to get with all these European women is that he himself starts going out with Betty Brant. It's unclear when that happens because in all the other trailer footage of them going around Europe with the tour group, you see the two of them together being a super annoying couple, so it's not really clear when this relationship begins. I believe I'm going to get a chance to see the movie early, so if I do, I'll post a non-spoilery review, but for some reason my Twitter account isn't working, so if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I'll post updates there until I get my Twitter account fixed. So getting to the important stuff, Venom crossover. Everybody wants to see Venom and Spider-Man crossover in a movie. There's obviously a lot of hurdles that they have to jump over before they can do something like that, but you've probably been reading a bunch of rumors because Tom Holland still has a movie on his contract with Sony after Spider-Man Far From Home, and they haven't announced the next Avengers movie because obviously Spider-Man is still in the MCU until you're told otherwise. But all they've said about Venom versus Carnage is that that's going to be the Venom sequel.
Hey, you mind if we forego the whole creepy serial killer thing here?
Sure, it's good with me.
They're still in the middle of working on that script. They won't start shooting that movie for a while, but they're still making that next Venom sequel with Carnage. But like I said, it's all about multiverse. There's really 5 things that need to happen to cross Venom over with Spider-Man, including both practical stuff behind the scenes as well as story stuff within the universes, within the context of what the characters are doing in their next movies. So number 5, they had to give both of the characters their origin story, which they did with Spider-Man Homecoming, Captain America Civil War, and the first Venom movie. You have to establish the Venom character before you can cross him over with Spider-Man. And because Kevin Feige didn't really express an interest in using the Venom character right away, and Sony felt like there was some box office to be had with him, they wanted to do a solo movie. So Sony just kind of did its own thing with the first Venom movie. Number 4, Venom had to do well enough at the box office. Tom Hardy had to prove himself as the character, even though he's fantastic, and I didn't really doubt him as a performer, but you just don't know what it's going to look like till you actually see it. So had the character been a failure, there probably would have been no chance for future crossover with Spider-Man, but in success, all things are possible. Number 3, they had to establish the concept of the multiverse in at least one of the movies, because Venom was made with the intent that it be its own thing, not part of the MCU naturally by design, in the way that, say, like Black Panther doesn't have any Spider-Man in it, but because they're both in the MCU and they both came from Captain America Civil War, you know that they're part of the same story universe. There was that really funny Tom Hardy quote, "Not my daddy's tractor," where he talks about crossing over with Spider-Man and how they designed the Venom movie to be its own thing.
Do you feel like this will be woven into this like legion of superheroes?
Well, I mean,
do you even want to be?
First of all, Venom stands alone. It has its own universe. Do you know what I mean? And it was already a complete standalone piece. So when I read it, I'm quite mercenary and quite selfish in that aspect. I'm very, very happy to have a standalone character within the Marvel context and world, but all to myself. So I'm kind of greedy in that aspect. But at the end of the day, that's kind of above my pay grade, and also it's not my daddy's tractor. So I don't know where it fits in the grand scheme of things. But I would never rule anything out.
There are multiple realities, Peter. This is Earth, Dimension 616. I'm from Earth 833. We share identical physical constants, level 4 symmetry.
I'm sorry, you're saying there's a multiverse?
So this is why multiverse is the key for doing crazier crossovers with new characters from other studios because of weird rights situations with the Spider-Man characters. So Sony still technically controls all the Spider-Man 900 plus characters. There really are 900 plus characters out of the Spider-Man comics that Sony has access to. But you have to do the legwork of establishing that concept, which they just did during Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, and now Spider-Man Far From Home. 2, there has to be a clear desire to cross them over from everyone involved. Tom Holland, Tom Hardy, the producers, Kevin Feige, the Sony people at both studios. Tom Holland, Tom Hardy have both said a lot about crossing the characters over. Tom Holland is a big fan of the Venom character. Tom Hardy really wants to work with Tom Holland. Even the director of Venom said that he tried to lay the groundwork for a future crossover with the Spider-Man character in the first Venom movie. This is his quote. He says, "I think we lay the groundwork in this film for a pretty fun matchup in the future, so I think that it'll be a really exciting story to explore, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I'd love to see him face off against Spider-Man at some point. It feels like that's inevitable, and I know that Tom Holland's excited about it, and I know that Tom Hardy's excited about it, so it's just a question of when and where, I guess. That seems like the natural evolution." So it does seem like Sony is trying to get Tom Holland into its Venomverse movies as quickly as possible. The way the Venom director talked about the crossover, though, made it sound more like the intent is to put Tom Holland inside the Venomverse movies as opposed to putting Venom inside an MCU movie. Remember when Venom was supposed to be rated R? They said it was going to be super hardcore, everybody got really pumped up, but then it wound up being PG-13. Part of the reason for that is to make it easier to bring Spider-Man, a very PG-13 character, into a future sequel. It'd be really weird if you did an R-rated Venom movie, then suddenly the sequel was PG-13. Number 1, though, there has to be a clear reason to cross Spider-Man and Venom over on a story level. It has to make sense for the characters. Like, why would Tom Hardy's Venom wind up in the MCU? Why would he cross over dimensions? Or why would Tom Holland's Spider-Man cross over into the Venomverse dimension? Really good example of that is why would Hulk cross over with Thor, aside from it just being a cool idea? The main reason that happened is because Disney was never going to be able to release a Hulk movie because of the universal rights situation, but Kevin Feige really wanted to release a Hulk movie, so this was the compromise. You give Hulk a movie broken up in a couple crossovers between 3 separate movies, including Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. Hands down, best reason for why a crossover like this would happen is so that they can build up to a live-action Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with Tom Holland's Peter Parker. So how do you do that? You do Maximum Carnage for the 3rd Venom film. Something happens, and because of the snaps that tore a hole in reality with Thanos' snap and Hulk snap, Iron Man snap, maybe you consider Thanos' second snap also a really bad one too. Out of that chaos, one of the symbiotes, or Carnage himself, causes some problems. That creates the circumstances for Tom Holland's Peter Parker to accidentally fall into the Venomverse and then find himself dealing with Venom, Carnage, and then eventually, once they develop the idea of the multiverse, working their way up to a live-action Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So let me know in the comments, what do you want that Venom Spider-Man crossover to look like once they get to it in a couple years? And what'll happen is if we get any more news about that, I will include it in videos. But like I said, non-spoilery reactions to Spider-Man Far From Home may be posting sometime mid-next week. Congratulations to the giveaway winner from my last big video, Dr. Spock. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. Click here for that new funny Spider-Man Thor crossover promo that Chris Hemsworth did with Tom Holland. And click here for that funny Spider-Man Far From Home Jimmy Kimmel scene. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.